E aí pessoal, sejam bem-vindos a mais um vídeo aqui no Moonlab, e hoje é um vídeo bem diferente, é uma conversa que eu tive com um americano que é poliglota e também fala português. Eu fiz essa conversa durante o desafio de 21 dias, na imersão de inglês, e a gente conversou, trocou uma ideia e foi um bate-papo tão legal, e na verdade eu já estou devendo para vocês esse vídeo, porque ele não estava traduzido, né? Ele estava no meio de uma imersão, de uma das lives, então acabou ficando meio perdido. Mas finalmente eu trouxe aqui para vocês essa conversa que foi muito, muito interessante, vários e vários insights. Então assim, prestem bastante atenção, peguem o papel e caneta de vocês para conseguir absorver tudo que a gente compartilhou ali durante essa conversa. E cara, assim, de verdade, incentivo vocês a realmente aproveitar, escutar com cuidado, com atenção, porque foi muito, muito legal. E naturalmente a gente conversou em inglês na maior parte do tempo e depois a gente trocou uma ideia em outros idiomas também, beleza? Então eu vou deixar vocês aqui com o restante do vídeo com essa conversa e eu vejo vocês numa próxima, beleza? Aproveitem. Boom, boom, boom. Here we are. What's good, Everett? How you doing, brother?
Good morning, Eric. I'm fantastic. How are you?
Awesome, doing great. Super excited for this chat.
Me too.
Yeah, man, we have a lot to talk about, and I'm a little bit concerned because since we have a lot to talk about, it is going to be like, in a way, TDHD friendly. But yeah, it's going to, everything is going to work out. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the first of perhaps many. So we don't have to have all of the answers today.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, everyone is saying hello to you. Are you able to see the chat?
I can't see the chat, no.
Maybe, yeah, maybe you need to open the live stream also.
Okay, let me see what I can do if I...
Yeah, we don't have delay, by the way, on the live stream.
No delay on the live stream? Okay. All right, let me see. Moonlab TV.
Yes, and also must be weird for you to hear like Moonlab, yeah, because it sounds like moon as lua, right?
Yeah. What is the deal with Moonlabi? What is that? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, right. So the thing is, initially, I pick up the name just because I like the sound of it. And then, and also there was another like idea behind it. Was initially me and Andre, we set up for doing like videos on YouTube only on Mondays, so it would be like Monday Lab.
Okay.
And then I started to post videos daily, and now the name doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, but I found an answer. That is, I needed to, make up a name or justification for it. And what I found is multidisciplinary observational neurosciences laboratory. Translating to like a lab that studies languages. That is the thing. So it is like a stretch, of course, but it works. But it works.
I'm adjusting. Now I can see the chat, and I'm adjusting the window so that I'm not distracted by seeing my own face on delay. So I think we're good.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm kind of used to it because I need to deal with it every day. But yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And also a quick feedback from you guys. Are you guys able to listen to him well? The audio is okay, like the volume. O volume do áudio, pessoal. Vocês estão conseguindo escutar ele certinho? Estão conseguindo me escutar certinho? Well, it's kind of funny because in the live stream, I'm looking like sideways and it's like directly to the chat. So it looks like I'm directly looking at the chat. And anyway, awesome. Yeah, everything's okay. Awesome. All right, you guys. So I'm going to speak a little bit in Portuguese to introduce our dear friend here. And then we'll follow to the actual conversation. All right? Então, pessoal, estamos aqui com o Everett, nosso queridíssimo professor no Lab. Ele dá aula de inglês e também faz, na verdade, assim, mais importante até, é ele fazer parte do espírito do LabPass, né? Ele é um poliglota, ele também sabe português, francês, alemão, espanhol e está estudando mandarim também. Então, ele vive essa coisa de o estilo de vida poliglota, né? E assim, o muito interessante porque é o que eu normalmente falo para vocês, poliglotas tendem a enxergar as coisas muito parecidas, porque é o equivalente a não sei, assim, a gente fazer um exercício na academia e todo mundo sente assim, ok, trabalhamos o músculo, não é verdade? Assim, o ato de levantar peso, trabalha o músculo, interessante. Porque todo poliglota reconhece as mesmas dificuldades, porque todo mundo passa por experiências muito parecidas, né? Então a gente vai discorrer hoje sobre assuntos relacionados à aprendizagem de idiomas e também relacionado ao inglês, especificamente no caso de brasileiros, porque nós temos opiniões, para vocês podem ser um pouco duras, duras verdades, mas que a gente enxerga que é a realidade do brasileiro. Ou seja, essa vai ser uma conversa muito interessante para toda pessoa que está tentando aprender inglês, porque a quantidade de informação que a gente vai entregar aqui é super high level, super deep, é um nível alto e profundo também. Então, assim, tem até essa expressão em inglês, né? Food for thought, que é um alimento para o pensamento, né? Então, é o tipo de conversa que vocês vão reassistir, vão repensar, vão passar dias pensando com a quantidade de informações que a gente vai passar aqui hoje. Beleza? Let's get into it. All right,
Let's
awesome.
do it.
All right, so let's give a little bit of context for the people watching. All right, so if you can like introduce yourself, what languages do you speak, and like a little bit of your trajectory so far, and also how you started to learn Portuguese. How was that journey?
Yeah, great. Fantastic. Well, so my name is Everett, and I now live in Brazil. So, however, I am speaking right now from the United States.
Yeah.
I'm actually in California, but my journey towards all of this, I grew up in a very, very monolingual culture in Washington State.
Right.
And I don't think I heard another language until I was probably 20, probably 20 years old. So it was all English. Yeah, yeah. And sometime in the university, I started becoming interested in learning German. I've always been a literature lover, and I started reading books by German authors, and I just decided, I want to read them in German. So I did like an intense year-long course, basically, at the University of Washington in German, and I just became obsessed. Then I moved to Germany, and I lived there for a year and learned German.
You lived in Germany, right?
I did.
About that, yeah.
Yes, yes. And after that, I moved back to the United States, and then I moved to California. And this will tie into Portuguese very soon, because I moved to California when I was 27. That was over 20 years ago. And I started learning Spanish at that time. And that took a long time, but I started, just speaking to native Spanish speakers, mostly from Mexico in California. And that would come in handy years later when I found myself living in Brazil. Yeah. That is a long story. But along the way, I also started learning French, and I became obsessed with that for about a year and a half. I learned French. That was actually only a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And then I met my wife, who was one of my Spanish tutors, actually.
Oh, okay. I love
and
story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's a very, very brief, very short history of my languages, right? And anyway, we ended up moving to Brazil 8 months ago now. And so I didn't speak any Portuguese before I came here. And but knowing Spanish, speaking Spanish in our home every day, that gave me quite an advantage of learning Portuguese. Totally. So I am not 100% comfortable speaking Portuguese 8 months later, but I can certainly get by, communicate. So I don't know if that answers your question, or
No,
maybe
yeah,
it
yeah,
brought
yeah,
up more
totally.
questions.
No, totally,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we can, yeah, there's a lot of like open doors for us to dive into there. And I
Yeah.
think like what is interesting is that when you mentioned you grew up in Washington D.C., yeah, and it was a
Washington
very
State.
oh
Washington
Washington
State.
State. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
DC is the actual
hmm
city, yeah.
DC is the city, and it's on the east, near the East Coast. And Washington State is completely different. It's northwest United States.
All right.
So Washington D.C., the city is actually, it has nothing to do with the
Oh,
state. It's
okay.
in a different
Oh, okay,
location.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay. It is
yeah,
like
yeah.
saying the Brasilia is not actual city, is like a district in a way like that.
It is. Yeah, Washington D.C. is it's its own. Well, it stands for District of Columbia. Washington District of Columbia.
Oh, oh, all
Washington
right.
D.C. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've never been to Washington D.C. By the
Oh,
way.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've never been there.
Right, right. That's funny. That's funny. Awesome. And it's curious to me because here in Brazil, we kind of have a similar experience of like growing up in a monolingual context. But in a way, we have like Spanish speaking people here, but it's kind of a different experience, I think. Because for us, we keep talking in Portuguese with them, and they speak kind of Portuguese-ish, like that was German, like Portuguese with Spanish, and so we don't have like that feeling of actually speaking a different language, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I've noticed a lot of similarities between where I grew up and the culture here now with respect to languages. So maybe we can get into that in a little bit. I think the only other thing that I would like to add about myself and my language is right now I'm actively working on German, French, Portuguese, and Spanish, and getting them up to a comfortable conversational level. And so that is where I'm at right now. You mentioned Mandarin earlier, and that's kind of on hold as I'm trying to get my other languages up to a comfortable conversation level.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
So you are learning like 4 languages at the same time, basically? Not really
Yes,
learning. You are living
not
in those
really.
languages.
Yeah, Spanish is taken care of. I feel very comfortable in Spanish. And German, I feel like it's there. And I'm not trying to improve it. I'm just trying to maintain it. French, I'm trying to get back a little bit because it was placed on an 8-month hold while I learned Portuguese.
Right.
And Portuguese is sort of taken care of because I'm using it in my daily life somewhat in Brazil.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
all right, so your first experience learning languages was when you were 20, living in Germany?
21, yes.
All right.
21 with German. Mm-hmm.
And even though you started learning late, per se, you were still able to learn multiple languages.
Yes, yeah, I certainly didn't even think about it. Didn't even occur to me before the age of 20 that other people spoke other languages other than English. I know it sounds strange, but we are so isolated in the United States. It's different now. This was 30, 40 years ago when I grew up, right? This was the 80s, 1980s, Washington State. If I had grown up in Texas or like Southern California or Miami, my experience may have been different, but I swear that I didn't even, I guess theoretically, when I watched a movie and heard other people, another language, all the movies were in English, of course. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you something funny about my experience growing up. Speaking in another language for me meant speaking in English with an accent. I'll explain a little bit more.
Okay.
So when I would watch a movie in English, a Hollywood movie, and if there was someone from Mexico, say, in the movie, they would, of course, be speaking English, but with a Mexican accent. And to me and my friends, that was speaking Spanish.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like the
ridiculous.
Terminator in the movies, like speaking like Russian English.
Or German, Austrian English as Arnold. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So it was like, not only did I not speak, try to speak another language before 21, I just didn't even hear another language, even Spanish. And today it's unthinkable. In the United States, no matter where you go, you hear Spanish, but not when I was growing up, not where I was growing up.
Right. Yeah, for us, I think for us it's a little bit different actually, because we need to have contact with different media, so movies and games and things and such. So for me personally, I had contact with English and also different languages, but through games, was not like something related to culture necessarily, and that's actually, I think, one of the main reasons, like to begin with, that many Brazilians struggle to actually learn, because since it is like they can't really make that jump from living in a different culture online, so they only have like the physical reference, and they can't really comprehend the difference between living online in a different language and living differently physically in a different language. Does that make sense?
Oh, interesting. Yes. It's like a virtual reality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because for me, like, my experience, I think, is quite different from usual Brazilians that learn English, because for me, I was always living in English, so for me it feels very natural. And also it is funny because sometimes that may be weird to say, but it is almost that I kind of get the culture of the US, or in a way it have like influenced me a lot, because I have been like consuming content for so long now, and like the mannerisms, the patterns of thought and things like that, and all of that like grew up with me, so kind of developed me in a way as well. So yeah,
certainly in a way that does not happen even today. It's a little different, but because with, say, Netflix or the internet, right? But most people in Brazil have seen a US film, have seen a Hollywood film. Most people in the US have not seen any Brazilian, films in Portuguese. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah. I recall Andre once told me that one of the reasons why Norwegians are so good at English and Germans not so much, and countries around there not so much as well, is because in Norway there is a huge media influence in English, like movies, TV shows, and all of that. So they are more accustomed to listening to English in the daily lives, rather than in different countries such as Germany, that is mostly German, or Sweden, mostly Swedish. But in Norway, it seems that is more English. And my point, the reason why I'm saying this, is because I really believe, like, when a child or someone growing up have this interaction with like different languages, it is so different. It is so different. The whole perception of the world and learning languages, it is actually super different. And what I want to know, actually, out of you, is how your life changed in that regard when you started to learn different languages, how your physical and digital world start to mix up in different languages, and how was that process?
Great question. I think for me, my world completely changed when I was living in Germany. So it's connected. Living in Germany, learning German changed everything for me. This was 2002, 2003, the year that I lived in German. Germany. And I realized that so the US is very isolated. Like even today, like it's a strange, we think we are very, very important, and all of our media is American based.
Yeah.
There are some differences depending on where you live. And today with Netflix, with the internet, it is different. But certainly back then, for the first time, I was introduced to people who from a different culture, a different language, and it changed everything for me. And it prevented me from being stuck, in my way of thinking. And hopefully I continue to grow and think in different ways. That's one thing that I aspire to do every day, is to listen to other people's stories, and learning languages helps me do that.
Totally.
Because I can hear other people, tell their stories in their own voices, in their own languages. Right. And that is a huge difference between, a monolingual environment.
Right. Yeah, there is this saying, I think it was Mandela who said it, like when you speak in English with someone, you can connect, but when you speak in their language, then you touch their souls, something like that. And that is
beautiful.
Yeah, it is awesome. And yeah, for me, it is all about connection learning languages. And that is the thing. What I realized, all right, we are getting in the learning aspects of language now, because for me, learning languages was never about learning the language, but more about the everything else that surrounds it. And what I think this is one of the biggest mistakes that Brazilians do, because they, in a way, is similar to Americans, where in that sense, where since they don't have like this experience, this this bond that you can connect with people, that you can make with people in different cultures and countries, they can really comprehend how it is exactly that makes us learn faster. And they are so obsessed with what I need to do, what I need to pursue, what I need to study, what are the methods, what are the secret code or secret potion or whatever that it is going to make them obtain the benefit. And the benefit is, there isn't a benefit. It is only pure psychological and spiritual in a way. So how do you view that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there can be, I think it's different for different people, but I think I agree with you, if I'm understanding you correctly, where if you're really fixated on like the outcome, okay, I have to learn, if I learn English, I will get a better job, say, or I need to learn English because everyone else says that I need to learn English.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever, another language. I think English is a good example, because it's, usually people learn it for work or for to travel or something. For me, I mean, since I'm a native English speaker, I can't really speak to that, but I agree with you. To me, it's all about communicating with other people, and we can do that fairly quickly. Like, I'll just say my father is 80 years old, and he's learning Spanish, and he loves just walking his dogs in the park, and he comes upon someone and he says buenos dias, and they say buenos dias back, and he loves that. He's like, that thrills me. And that's just like this tiny little connection that it sounds silly, but it's quite beautiful. And we can get that fairly early on, as long as we're not frustrated.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as we're not frustrated and scared.
One guy here in the chat said, one question, does an accent really affect conversation between an English learner and a native American?
between an English learner and a native English speaker. No, I would say, I mean, it depends. It always depends.
Yeah.
If I understand the question correctly, for me, I have lots of experience speaking with people from all over the world in different accents, and I love it. But no, like, it doesn't affect conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, in my experience, it does like have a little bit of friction, but it's not a bad one. You know, it is not like something that we need to be concerned really. And so, for example, sometimes, and I think especially for Brazilians, since they don't have this like a background in most of the times, they don't have this background of consuming media in English while growing up. So when they actually have the contact with English, they don't have a lot of references. So when they listen to, like, for example, a different accent, an Australian one, or like someone from Britain, or like an Indian English, it is, for them, is like a completely different language. So that is, yeah. And for you guys, it is somewhat like that as well, or like that is kind of English. I kind of understand it, but it's not English. You know what I mean?
When I hear an like Australian accent, say, or?
Yeah. Both actually. Like general English, like Australian and British, but also like Russian or Indian, or, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I think it can be okay. If I'm being honest, I think it may take some getting used to. If you hear a certain accent for the first time, like even a native, it's difficult for me to answer that because I have so much experience now hearing English from all over the world. And, you know, whether it's from the United Kingdom, Australia, India, different, you know, ESL students, English as second language students. So I do think, I know, you know, friends or people that I know, Americans, who have trouble understanding certain accents. And
Right.
So, okay, yes. But that's kind of laziness on their part.
Right.
You know, I tell my students, like, if you come across a native English speaker, an American, who is impatient with you and, you know, just like, oh, I can't understand you, I think that's kind of their problem.
Yeah, totally.
And it's just a laziness.
Totally. And I think, like, people say to me, oh, you speak English, like good English and whatever. And for me, it is not about my pronunciation. It's not about the vocabulary that I use. It's basically because I don't care. and I think that is like a superpower, you know?
I agree.
Yeah, because like I recall this time, this was somewhat recent, like in last year I was in Floripa and I spent like a whole weekend with Americans and I spoke with them like the whole day. And there were several situations where, not really several, but some situations where I couldn't really understand. So for example, there was this situation, this Californian girl, she said autumn, and was like, a what? Autumn. And they're like, oh, okay, the weather, like autumn. Oh, okay, and now I got it. But like for me, it was weird that time, and that didn't like hindered me from making questions or putting me in a position where I wasn't comfortable because, yeah, I didn't get a word. So what, right?
Yeah. I notice certain, you know, some people get just completely frozen and unhinged on one word, you know, rather than like if they like listening, understanding, and then they hear one word and then it falls to pieces.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. Brazilians do that a lot. I think that is one of the things that I see Brazilians do a lot. And I don't know if other countries do that as well. But like Brazilians, if they don't get, like, so for example, in my job here, right, trying to teach people how to learn languages, constantly, every day in the immersion, There is someone that asked me that, or says that she or he is pausing a lot because of they miss a word or they miss a phrase or something like that. I'm like, you don't need to worry so much, man. If you lose a word or whatever, that's fine. That is okay. And
Yes.
and that is one of the things that I think, and also you can maybe share a little bit on your experience teaching Brazilians, how that affect people. Because from what I see from outside, and also teaching Portuguese Brazilians English as well, is that they care a lot about single, very specific mistakes, and not about the whole panorama of things.
Yeah, yeah. I have a short story. I was on the beach last week, I think, right before or a couple weekends ago, and I was just standing, looking at the ocean, bunch of people around, and a guy comes up to me and starts speaking in Portuguese very quickly. Blah 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 blah. Molia. No. Now I can't think of. Oh gosh, how do you say corn in Portuguese?
Milho.
Milho. Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Milho. And I looked at him and I'm like, não sei. Eu acho que ele vai pronto. I don't know what I answered, but I only understood milho, and and he's like, oh, okay. And I walked back to where my wife was sitting, and I was like, the guy just asked me where the corn vendor was, the beach corn vendor was, and I understood one single word, and I answered him, and like I didn't. My point with that is that sometimes we only need like a couple words out of a sentence to kind of make sense. And this was almost it was sort of in context, but sort of out of context. I wasn't paying attention, but I knew what he was asking, and I answered him, fairly reasonably. And then I thought oh, maybe that's not what he asked. And so I was watching him, and he waited, and the corn vendor came back, and then he bought corn.
Right.
I was like, yes. Okay. I was right. Yeah. So my point with that is that we get pretty good after learning, a couple different languages, more or less comfortably, at only needing very little information. If I understand half of what's said, I'm like, that's great.
Yeah, that actually would be my follow-up question, because from your story, what I take out of that is that you didn't freak out because you missed a word.
Completely. And that has taken years.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of practice.
Yeah.
I think if that had happened 15 years ago in Spanish, I'd be like, I would have frozen. But that's a good point. I am really comfortable now in not understanding 100%, not understanding 60%.
I think that was one of our main points. When people are trying to learn languages, is that you need to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, in making mistakes and things like that, because otherwise, the road is not good at all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just mixed up molia with milho.
Yeah.
And
who cares? Yeah.
Who cares?
Exactly. Yeah.
I would have got it in context, but oh my gosh, I make, colossal, hilarious mistakes all the time, and it's totally fine. And I think it's really important to laugh at yourself, to be able to laugh at yourself, and because it is funny, if I make a mistake and call corn molia, that's funny, especially it can be, and I love that. I love hearing other people's mistakes, and I love making mistakes, and I don't, but that's taken decades, man. That's taken a long time, because I think like you, I'm a pretty introverted person. I'm pretty shy, naturally. So this doesn't come, naturally to me, but it's worth it. It's worth the discomfort is worth
Totally.
connecting
Totally. And that's
people.
one thing that it is not related to language at all. Is more like psychological, but that single thing makes all the difference. Makes all the difference. I recall when I started learning German, I think my pronunciation is in German is my best skill area per se. The other ones not so great, but I think the reason why my pronunciation is better than the other ones is because from the start, I didn't care at all about my mistakes, and that put me like in this free position, and that is so difficult to teach actually, because like students come to me, and it is almost like a pandemic in a way, because the students come to me ready to pay for something that is not going to help them. It is crazy. It is crazy. I need to tell them like, all right, I don't want your money, bro. I want to help you. And I am telling you, the way you are going to learn is not like through, pre-made material or like standard material, is by personalizing the experience. And also there's a question here.
Yes.
That maybe entering into that field as well. Umberto asked, when you are trying to learn a new language, what is your main focus?
Yeah, I love that question. I saw that. Thank you, Umberto. I'll answer it for me personally, but then like a general tip. I think whatever you're interested in, that should be your principal focus, and that's going to be different for everyone. And there's no right way. At a certain point earlier in the year, I thought I had figured out how to learn a language the most efficiently. And then I started talking to a Brazilian, actually, one of my students he spoke English incredibly well. He had learned it from a course. He had learned English from, he was one of those guys who could actually just take a course, and he worked at it. He was a computer programmer, so probably his brain was a little different than mine.
Right.
And I'm sorry if I'm speaking too quickly now. I get excited about these things.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Don't worry. Be free about it. Yeah.
Okay. But he reminded me that there is a million paths to speaking a language well. And so whatever you are interested in, that should be your principal focus. For me, personally, I am mostly interested in two things. I'm usually interested in reading in the language, and I find that to be fairly easy in most languages. Certainly in Portuguese, French, German, and Spanish. I read all four of those languages at a fairly high level, but I'm a literature major. I studied literature. I studied reading and writing at the university. That is how I view the world, through literature. So for me, that's generally one principal focus. The other one is speaking to people.
Speaking to people, right?
Yeah. However, in order to do that, I listen a lot. I listen a lot.
Yeah.
So with the goal in mind that I do want to speak to people, I listen. My principal focus is reading and listening at the same time. That is 80% of what I do in learning a language, is reading and listening at the same time.
Yeah.
That is how I learn.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, because and for me, I think that is I don't like to, how can I say this? I don't like to put polyglots and bilinguals or monolinguals in different categories, but there is a very specific shift from the polyglots approach to learning languages and monolinguals and bilinguals approach. And I think one of the reasons why is after you learn multiple languages, you get that it is basically listening and reading, exposing yourself to the language, and that's it. Everything else is only optimizing the process. There isn't a secret, and that is so difficult to teach.
Yeah, I will say, I 100% agree. I know a woman she's a Ukrainian woman who speaks English very well, Spanish very, very well, Russian and Ukrainian, of course. And she says, she's living she was living in Poland for a few months. She started learning Polish, and she learns through grammar. She learns through and I'm like, I don't know how she does it. It sounds so boring to me, but she just picks up a grammar book and starts doing the exercises, and I can't argue with the results. I've had conversations with her in Spanish and in English, and she speaks really, really well. I'm like, how did you learn these? She said grammar books. So
crazy.
That just goes to show you that if you like learning grammar, learning grammar gets a bad reputation from a lot of polyglots, myself included. I think it's boring. I teach it, but only as a vehicle to practice very, very specific conversation skills. Like to limit the improvisation, if you will. So we're working on little specific exercises, but it's only a vehicle to conversation. But she loves grammar, and that's how she learns languages. And she's another computer programmer. Maybe that's why.
Maybe that's why, right? Yeah, I recall when I was trying to learn how to learn languages, I recall watching some videos on YouTube of polyglots learning by books, like pre-made books, right? So English full course, Mandarin full course, Japanese full course, and I'm like, how the hell are you guys able to bear it? It looks so boring. But the thing is, that is the most difficult thing for people to realize and really internalize, actually, is that the journey to learn a language is completely made by you, to you, for you. Like there isn't a general guide that is going to fit for everyone. We need to have that grasp of subjectivity and being able to actually shape the journey towards our objectives in our lives. That is what actually makes the difference, I feel.
Completely. Yeah. And that takes, I think you're right with the mindset between someone learning their first language and then someone learning their fourth language, say, where you realize there's no wrong way, but I should do what I feel like, basically, because that's the thing that I'm going to do every day.
Exactly. I have the feeling of, where sometimes in life where you are you go a lot of times to a certain place, or you do a certain activity a lot of times, and there is a newcomer asking some very basic and very basic questions, and then you look at them like, oh, first time here? That is the feeling that I get out of people trying to learn languages. It's like you have a lot of things that you're going to rethink out of language learning while you go through the process. Yeah,
I love hearing those questions, though. I love hearing the basic questions because that's important. It's important to whether it's at gym or wherever. I like that example, because that's a person that's they're ready to learn, they're ready to get out of their comfort zone, and
the excitement.
Yeah.
So. Awesome. I have many questions here in the chat. All right. So Umberto also asked, what is your favorite hobby?
Learning languages.
There you go.
No. Right now I'm learning chess.
Cool.
But that's a very recent
like playing instruments or dancing? Or both?
No, learning chess.
Oh, chess. Right.
Chess.
Chess.
Yeah.
Super addicting. Be careful.
Oh. Goodness, I know.
Yeah,
I know. It is.
Absolutely love chess.
But it's a good way. It turns out, like anything else you're interested in, it's a great way to practice languages. I'm watching, YouTube videos on playing chess. Favorite hobby, right now chess, but I have many hobbies.
Right. Awesome. Another question. What is the average time to be comfortable to communicate? Also from Humberto.
Yep. Saw that question. I was trying to think of how I would answer it.
Yeah.
It depends on you. The quicker you become comfortable with being uncomfortable, the better.
Yep.
Just the quicker you will learn.
Yep.
It's about being uncomfortable and being okay with that. Because listen, I speak Spanish every day with my wife, and I'm very comfortable speaking with her. And then sometimes when she hands me the phone and I'm looking at my mother-in-law on WhatsApp, and we're speaking in Spanish, I'm still uncomfortable. Like I'm still self-conscious about my Spanish with her, and so we will. And right now, I'm speaking in my native language, but for the first time on YouTube Live. So it's not 100% comfortable for me. I'm like, hopefully I don't say anything dumb, but I'm so used to saying dumb things.
Yeah. Bro,
okay.
Me too, man. Like, that is the thing with live streams as well. Like, a lot of things happen during those live streams. Like some things that I didn't want it to happen, some things that I wanted to happen. Either way, it's part of the journey. Yeah. And that is like, I think that is one thing that after the person learned the language, he's going to realize and rethink about those things, because then he will actually understand it, because he will have passed through it by experience, so he will have the substance to actually understand this, because it's very difficult to translate it like just saying it.
Yeah, I wanted to do a more specific answer to Humberto's question. My first answer stands of get comfortable with being uncomfortable, but I would say, I measure it in, hundreds, if not thousands of hours for comfort. So that's a long time. But it can be shortened with just practice, like specific, if you want to, get comfortable speaking with people, you can listen to 2,000 hours of English, say, on YouTube, and like read and listen for 2,000 hours. That's a long time. You're going to understand just about everything, right?
Yep.
As soon as you go to speak with someone, a native English speaker, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yep.
It's going to be uncomfortable. So I don't know when you actually get comfortable in speaking in another language. Perhaps never, perhaps 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's okay.
For me, there isn't like a straight timeline, but I think in the way that I see it, there are some prerequisites for being able to not feel so uncomfortable. So for example, for me, was easier to speak after I was able to understand it. So I don't have to worry so much. And I recall this happened, I believe it was in 2022, where I was playing this game and I was hanging out with this dude online. And I think at the time that was like not even my 20th interaction with native. And I recall I was so nervous because it was actually, and that is another thing as well, because since I was actively pursuing the interaction, that made me feel more nervous. Because at the time, English wasn't as around my life as it is right now. So interacting with a native was like an event, wasn't like something regular, and that made me feel nervous. And I recall even this situation where I joined the voice chat and I was talking about Stephen King, and I said Stephen King instead of Stephen King. And then he said, "Oh, who's that?" And then he said, "Oh, Stephen King." And then was like, I was frozen, I was like, "Oh, all right, Stephen King." but that, like in that specific situation, I had already like thousands of hours listening to English. Even though I had all of that of like repertoire, I was still nervous because actually I didn't practice a lot. So there are some. It's very tricky, actually. It's very tricky. So I think, yeah, just going through experience and actually having the maturity to deal with it would be.
If I can add to that,
Yeah.
I agree that, you know, if you can understand, you know, everything or more or less everything, then that is a huge burden off you. You don't have to spend so much energy understanding, so you can spend a little bit more energy on finding the words to answer. The one danger of waiting too long to speak with people, and I don't think there's any wrong way of doing this, but for me, if I wait too long, if I learn a language, I think to myself, I should be able to speak pretty well.
Yeah.
And
reality check time.
May or may not be true. Yeah, reality check time. I practiced guitar for years alone. Just practice doing drills and stuff like that. And then I finally one day I'm like, oh, I got invited to a jam session, like an old time music jam session. Nice. Where you sit in a circle and someone calls a song, we start playing, and then we all take turns doing a solo, you know, over the song. And I had been playing for years, and I could, you know, play some things. I could play, you know, quite a bit of things. I had a lot of experience playing guitar. That solo came around to me, you know, and I didn't even know it was the simplest song. And I was like, poink, poink, poink. And it was, in that moment I realized, oh, it's very important to play with other people. You know, it's very important to actually, you know, speak and converse. So now I learned very quickly after that. I came to those sessions, those jam sessions every week. And after the third or fourth week, I was already comfortable because of all those thousands of hours put in playing guitar, you know. But if I had have started playing with people a little bit earlier, I don't know, maybe it would have been better. But
yeah, breaking the ice, basically, yeah?
Breaking the ice, exactly. Yeah.
Like, otherwise we're going to see it as this huge monster or this huge mountain that we need to climb, but not really. Yeah.
No, and yeah, the danger that I like, our ego can get in the way if we think like, oh, I should be able to speak because I've learned this language for 2 years or something. I've taken all these courses, I've listened, I've read a lot. And so there is a danger of being, you know, like really frozen and, you know, not wanting to speak ever because we think we should speak better.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but,
totally.
Yeah.
All right, we have one more question, and then I have one question myself, and then we can wrap it up because I think that is an hour already. I don't know how, but
something like that. This is fun though. I don't know if I'm helping, but this is super fun.
No, it's super fun. And one thing that I can't really understand what is going on with my live streams because they are ending super quick. Like I'm watching 1 hour videos with I don't even have the name, but the audience basically, and it's like for me like 10 minutes. Crazy. All right, so TXK Games asks, para aprender um idioma você considera ter uma audição resistência a ruído? Yeah, you can understand that, yeah?
Yeah, where is that?
Yeah, you need to scroll a little bit. Is below the Humberto question.
Para aprender um idioma você considera... No, I don't actually understand that question.
Right. So he's but he phrased in a weird way. Yeah. So he's basically asking to learn a language, you need to have like a tolerance to noise, meaning what I think where he's getting at and where he's coming from actually is like this feeling of the uncomfortable, this tolerance to hear the language as a noise instead of a language.
Oh, I love that question.
Yeah. That is what I understand, actually. Yeah.
Okay. That is fantastic. Okay, so I think that I have a super high tolerance to listening to a language without understanding much.
Right.
Maybe that as a way of answering it. And so I do end up listening to a lot of like news podcasts, and while I'm doing other things, especially early on in learning language, where I'm basically just listening to the sound and I'm not worrying about understanding anything. So perhaps
actually, now that I think about it, me too, actually. Because like I do understand the feeling of, oh yeah, you are fully converted to Brazilian drinking mate, Brazilian, Venezuelan, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a weird gringo. Yeah.
That's awesome. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, that because we do have this feeling, and also this is one thing that I tell people, this feeling of the language feeling like an alien sound instead of words and phrases and sentences. And for me to deal with this alien language, it is okay. It is not so disturbing. But for people, it's super inconvenient, super boring. Not really only boring, but like irritating sometimes, you know? And I think that's what he meant,
It's a great question, and sometimes it works against me, but probably in a good way in the long run. But sometimes I'm so used to hearing things that I am not understanding 100% and uncomfortable, that I'll be like listening, and then all of a sudden this has happened in the mentorias with you, where like I'm listening to your voice, and then all of a sudden you've asked me a question. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, totally, man. Totally.
Yeah.
But Luis have a good question here as well. What do you consider the biggest difficulty for Brazilians learning English?
There's so many.
There's so many.
Biggest difficulty.
We have a whole list.
I do have a list. I've literally made a list of things. Do you have one to start us out with?
Right.
And then I'll try and think of.
Yeah. I think one of the main difficulties for Brazilians is getting the foot into the water. You know, like actually consuming the language. They don't consume the language.
Yeah.
Like I remember vividly. Like I even recall where I was at, like the positions of the furniture and everything when this situation happened. Many situations in my life when I was like with other Brazilians watching a movie or a video or whatever. The first thing they asked me was, "Tá dublado? Coloca no dublado aí." Like, remove. Like, I don't want to listen to English, and you know that happened so many times. So for them, it's like, and it was like there was subtitles in it. It wasn't like I was expecting them to really understand English. It was just consuming the content. And there wasn't a dubbed version. But they were so against the idea of consuming the language. And that is one of the things that I would say is one of the biggest reasons why they have this really, I don't even know how to say this, resistance to consume the language. And that makes everything harder. Yeah.
I have one. I've noticed that there's a lot of Brazilians, a lot of students that I have tell me that they cannot speak English, and they tell me this in English.
Yeah, it's
and I'm
so
like, dude,
funny. Yeah,
like you are speaking English right now. I know, but I don't speak it. Like, okay, but you can understand me.
Sorry, can I say something?
Yeah.
One thing that I hate about Brazilians, honestly, sorry for my bad English. Sorry for my bad English. I hate that, man.
Yeah. I think that I don't know if that's like only Brazilians, but that is kind of what I'm saying. I've met a lot of Brazilians they're very insecure about their English skills, and I'm like, dude, your English is better than my Portuguese, so like let's celebrate that. Let's lean
Yeah.
into it, you know. And maybe so that's a mindset thing, that's a psychological thing, perhaps. I think that's the biggest difficulty for Brazilians. That could be universal, but I've particularly noticed it
Right.
with.
Now, mhm.
No, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
All right. Yeah. My question for
Mhm.
us to wrap it up is because I, I gotta be honest. All of my languages that I learned mostly by myself, alone, grinding and doing immersions, exposition, and all kind of stuff. But then the lab happened. And for me now, my learning languages experience was never the same. And this is not like to, how can I say, to make an advertise for the lab, but is the question is like deeper in a sense of the differences for you in learning languages by yourself in a community,
Mhm.
in sharing this experience. How is that to you?
Yeah, great question. Um, I think that it is super important. I will say that it took me probably 15 years to learn Spanish. It shouldn't have, but it did. It I did it on my own, sporadically. You know, every once in a while, I'd be like spend a couple months at it, and then I would kind of ignore it. Why? Because I didn't have like I'm still the only gringo white American I know learned who speaks Spanish. Like I know there's more, you know, but
But
like
yeah,
I lived in
not so
California.
common. Yep.
I lived in California for 20 years and I had lots of friends who said they wanted to learn Spanish, but no one actually did. And so I learned it really, really on my own. But it took me a long time. And I've noticed being, you know, part of the community, part of the lab community, that's a that's a big difference. It's like you're constantly reminded, like, oh my gosh, Bahusho has just studied for 4 more hours. Like I need to,
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
super motivational. I'm like, man, that guy's getting good, or you know,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Shout out to my man.
Yeah.
And but you know, there's so many that that's a huge help. Just motivation, just the sense of community.
Yeah.
So that's on a general level, but then I've got specific level. Now I have conversation partners in German. I have a conversation partner in French. I'm trading, you know, voice messages in French with Priscilla, you know,
Yeah.
and hopefully we're going to start talking. Like I have these, like, this is transformational, you know. So just these constant. It's like the Polyglots dream to be part of this community. Even though am I the only non-Brazilian person? Or no?
I think so. I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
that's probably going to change, and it should.
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't understand. Like, if there are any native English speakers out there who
Yeah.
want to learn Portuguese, like my Portuguese is it's way better than it was just from the immersion. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good question. I think it makes a huge difference on just a general inspirational level, you know,
Yeah.
to be around people who are learning other languages,
Yeah.
and also a practical level because we can practice with other people.
Yeah, yeah. Because for me, like, even though I'm like organizing, I'm doing all this kind of work for this to happen and work like seamlessly. But for me, as a student, because this is what I often tell people. Although like in the position of a professor, before I am a professor, before I am a teacher, I'm first a student of languages. So for me, that
Yeah.
made a huge difference. And also, this is somewhat polyglot territory, but like for me, after learning my third or fourth language, like since I knew how much work I needed to actually learn, I was like not wanting to do it because I knew, or it is almost like the feeling of, all right, I can do it anytime, so I won't do
Mhm.
it. And by learning in a community, like that vanished, completely vanished, because I want to do immersion with the boys. I want to watch videos with them, and that made all the difference. And I feel that happened in the German immersion because I had so much fun sharing this experience, and also now in English, like having a completely different English experience than what I had before. And I think even if someone like doesn't necessarily need to join the lab or something, just find a group of friends, good friends, that is going to share the experience, watch some movies together, like play games together, like do something in different languages together, doesn't need to be alone.
100%. That's how I learned German, actually. In my 21, I hooked up with a couple people, and for that year, we were really dedicated, at the university to just studying German, and that made a huge difference because I think you made a video a few months ago about the sort of like I'm going to paraphrase, and so I may be getting this wrong, but almost the antisocial nature of learning languages, where you have to like shut off your friends and family in your native language to, and that it's very extreme, but there is something to that. There is something to that, and so you kind of, if you can replace. Exactly. Replace your friends and family with other friends and family in another language. It's really good.
It's really good. It's really good to learn languages. Yep. All right. Awesome, man. What a great conversation. And also, we only touched the surface, and that is the crazy part. That is the crazy part. All right. Awesome. E aí, pessoal, o que vocês acharam? We are still on live, by the way. I didn't close. And just having some...
Próxima vez falamos em português.
Isso.
Ou em alemão.
Ja, genau.
Auf Deutsch.
Ich werde gerade da sagen. Ja.
Peut-être en français.
Un petit
tu parles, tu prends le français pendant le desafio. Je ne sais pas comment dire ça en français.
Maintenant, c'est un peu difficile pour moi de faire ce défi.
Défi, oui.
Ich weiß es nicht.
C'est ça.
Ein Défi? Okay. Awesome.
Quoi?
Ja, vielleicht, ja. Y sí, una cosa que me gusta y que tú has empezado a hacer en el grupo es como hacer videos cambiando de lenguaje. Eso me hace mucho placer y mucho gusto porque es algo que quiero hacer también, cambiar de lenguaje como así, porque no es fácil, ¿no?
Muy difícil cambiar los idiomas de español a portugués, francés, alemán. Solo un minuto.
Solo un minuto, sí. Pero al mismo tiempo, yo creo que para mí es como un juego, ¿no? Como si puedo cambiar de lenguaje más rápido, es como mejor.
¿Sabes por qué yo decidí hacer eso? Estábamos en un restaurante árabe en São Paulo.
Sí.
Hace unos meses con mis papás. Y el dueño del restaurante nos habló en portugués y preguntó a mi papá, porque mi papá no habla nada de portugués, solo un poquito de español.
Poquito, sí.
Y habló, ¿vous parlez el francés? En ese momento pensé, yo sí, pero no estoy listo para hablar en este momento. Y, ¿sabes? Solo tenemos como 10 segundos en la vida real. 10 segundos y perdimos la oportunidad.
La oportunidad. Sí.
Entonces, mi idea de eso es, ok, yo quiero estar listo, completamente preparado para hablar en francés, alemán, portugués, español, como automáticamente.
Sí, como un entrenamiento, ¿no?
Eso. Total.
Eso es loco porque yo no sé a usted, pero yo tengo como un hábito, una habitud de hacer eso como durante el día, cuando, por ejemplo,
Sí.
yo conozco una palabra nueva y después empiezo a pensar cómo yo diría esa palabra en un otro lenguaje que ya conozco ya.
Mm,
Y entonces
ujú.
creo como un flujo de 30 segundos cambiando de lenguaje, pero ni siempre sucede en eso. Pero bueno, es un entrenamiento y para
Sí.
mí va igual.
Me parece loco, porque sí, es hábitos de
De Poliglotas,
políglotas.
sí,
Sí,
exacto,
tus amigos,
exactamente.
qué loco, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué?
Sì, esatto,
Esos
esatto.
jueguitos.
Sì. E tu parli anche l'italiano? Ho dimenticato. Tu parli anche l'italiano?
No,
Non
no,
ancora.
no,
Todavía no.
no.
Todavía no.
Pero mi esposa quiere aprender
Ah, sì.
italiano.
Sì.
Entonces, y quería aprender portugués
Oh,
también, y por eso
mm,
a gente está
cool.
Brasil, no Brasil.
Sí. Oh, ella no habla portugués. Entonces, yo creía que ella
Hablas.
hablaba. Ah, ok.
Sí, sí, pero no antes no,
Oh,
no,
entendí.
no.
Entendí. Qué bueno, genial.
Ahora sí,
Genial.
ahora,
Sí.
ahora ella es excepcional en el famoso portuñol.
Portuñol, ya. Sí.
Ella C2 en
C2
portuñol.
en portuñol, sí. Y creo que muchos brasileños son como, tienen un nivel alto de portuñol también. Pero yo creo
Ujú.
que para nosotros brasileños es más fácil de comprender el español do que al revés. De los hispanohablantes comprender portugués parece un poco más difícil do que al...
Puede ser, no
Sí,
sé, mi esposa, ya para mí, creo que es más o menos igual, pero no sé, no soy,
sí,
soy angloparlante,
sí.
qué
Ah,
sé
sí.
yo.
Pero una última pregunta para usted. ¿Cómo fue como la diferencia de portugués en español? ¿Fue fácil de echar esta cambiación? Tal vez.
Em, bueno, ya hablé
Ujú.
español
Ah,
cuando
por muchos
empecé,
años, ¿no? Sí,
muchos años,
muchos años. Claro,
sí,
claro,
entonces, sí, una
claro.
experiencia completamente distinta.
Sí. Sa-
Yeah.
¿Sabe una cosa que pasa conmigo con el español? Es que durante el día, día al día no me hace mucha falta o me extraña mucho hablar en español, pero después que yo empiezo a hablar en español, yo tengo ese sentimiento muy fuerte de yo extrañaba eso, de hablar en español. Sí, es muy bueno, me gusta
Interesante,
mucho ese lenguaje, es muy bonita de hablar, sí.
es bonito,
Entonces,
sí,
sí. Gracias por ese
sí, sí, sí.
corto momento hablando en español. Me extrañaba, la verdad, sí.
Gusto,
Sí,
gusto,
muy bueno.
yeah.
Entonces, ah,
Massa.
sim, muito massa. Awesome. Massa, galera curtiu. Awesome to have you here, man. We are going to, yeah, we have a lot more to do, and hopefully this is first of many. And good to see you again. Final words?
Absolutely.
Final words for the people watching?
Uh, just today, spend some more time, and since you all spent about an hour listening to English, yeah,
Yeah.
find some more time to do a little more practice and to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Yep. Yeah. All right, man. Awesome. Good having you here. Thank you so much for
Thanks,
your
Eric.
time, and I will see you very, very soon, actually. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, Eric.
All right.
Bye bye.
Good to see you, my man. Bye bye. All right.
Bye.
Awesome. E aí, pessoal? Curtiram? Bate-papo com o americano?